You know, there's so many questions people may have as as they get older when it comes to elder law, the protection of the elderly, what their rights are, and everything like that. And if you have questions, well, there's a workshop that you can attend that this gentleman holds. Denny Mayhone, Mayhone Elder Law. How you doing? Good to see you, Denny, as always.
Thank you.
You hold workshops to educate people about different things on a regular basis.
Yeah, we are currently running 2 different workshops. And it's designed to educate people, because what we have found is as long as they have the knowledge, then they can make better decisions and sometimes keep us, myself, from having to undo what they've done. And so we do 2 workshops currently. One is what happens if one of us gets sick? How do we manage the illness? How do we manage long-term care? What are the differences in Medicare and Medicaid, and how do we structure things, and how do we protect assets? The other one is what happens when the diagnosis is dementia. And so for families that are seeing those diagnoses, whether it's dementia, Alzheimer's, or even Parkinson's or other related things, what happens when that diagnosis comes in and that disability is now in our lives? How do we lay out a plan for them to help them understand what's going on and then to make the best of the situation? And really it's about services and supports that they can receive and the steps they should take before or after the diagnosis.
Because once they diagnose with dementia, they pretty much, it's hard for them to make their own decisions. And you want to make the decisions that will protect them and that will help them.
Well, what we have to look at is where are they on the continuum? We call it the elder care continuum. So with a diagnosis, just having a diagnosis doesn't mean you can't plan anymore, but you're limited in the planning you can do. So as long as they understand what they're doing or have the ability, we call it capacity in the legal world, as long as they still have capacity, they can still sign. So powers of attorney. And so in the workshops, we talk about powers of attorney and healthcare directives and what those do and the powers that they give and the powers that also are reserved by the person. So just because I've given my wife, for example, the power of attorney for healthcare doesn't mean I can't still direct my healthcare as long as I have the understanding of what's going on.
Right, you have the faculties about yourself to be able to do it.
Right, and so many families believe, oh, once I have dementia, that's it. Maybe, maybe not. We have to look and see, where are you with that
Because there are
diagnosis?
early signs of dementia, but you could still be aware with, make decisions properly.
Right, I've had clients who have a diagnosis, and if there's a question, we ask their doctor. Could they still sign powers of attorney? Can they still make decisions? And the doctor says yes or no. If the doctor says no, then we're done. But if they say, sure, let's get them in place now. And usually they're an advocate for having a plan laid out. So in the workshops, we walk through those different scenarios with people, and we give some studies and some case examples of families where it went really good and where it didn't go so great. But it's to give them the information of the things they should be looking at internally. And it's free, so we don't charge for them. We invite them in and we go over the different information about these different topics.
How about paying for long-term care if needed?
Sure, so in the what happens if one of us gets sick, we really dive pretty good into Medicaid for long-term care, which normally happens in a nursing home. On a few occasions we can get it for the person in home. But there are requirements and restrictions. How much can you have? How much can you make? How does all of that work? And the dementia one, we do it as a last resort, of course, because long-term care starts at home. So we want people to be taken care of at home, and then we walk through how do we pay for that care once we have found the care. But finding the care can sometimes be the difficult process.
And there's different options as well, whether it's at home, assisted living, or whatever.
Right, so we have at home, families coming in to care for you, or you're paying someone to come in and care for you. We also have you living in someone else's home. So you might move in with a child or a friend or some other type of live-in caregiver. Then you have assisted living and memory care. Both of those are generally private pay.
Right.
If you have long-term care insurance, great. But Blue Cross, Humana, Medicare, they're not going to cover those costs for you. And so looking at the cost and how do we pay for it. And so what we try to do is integrate people's legal, financial, and personal care needs into a comprehensive plan for them that allows them to stay at home as long as possible. But if it's not possible, what are the steps? How do we take the most advantage to get them the services and supports they need for whatever their diagnosis is?
Who makes those decisions if you can't?
Right, right. And so if you haven't made the decision, the family may be headed to court, which entails its own set of struggles and hurdles. If you have laid out your powers of attorney correctly and said, these are the people I want, here's where I want to be, here are the instructions I'm leaving for my family, then the family has that roadmap that they can follow.
So what steps should families take to avoid any of these situations?
So they should look and see, what do they currently have in place, if anything? Review that. Is it still accurate? Does it still do what you wanted it to do? If you are the caregiver for someone, what authority do you have? There's a huge misconception that spouses simply have this magic ability to do things for you. They can't sign your name for you. My wife is the beneficiary on my life insurance. She's the beneficiary on my retirement account. But she can't go to my retirement broker and say, start a distribution of $1,000 a month because he needs care now. And those are the tools we need to make sure are in place. And that's all while you're alive. What are the tools after you die to make sure the right people that you want to receive things you have, receive them with as little fanfare, as little fighting or other issues come up? And so all of that can just be reviewed with what you currently have, and then what do you want to accomplish, and try to marry those two things together.
Who should attend these workshops?
Anyone who is not sure they have everything in place. Is what we say, and that's a very broad thing. But if you're worried about it, if you're concerned about it, we're doing in person and we're doing virtual. And so we're alternating those because some families don't have the ability to drive for 20 minutes, to sit somewhere for an hour and then drive home 20 minutes. That's almost 2 hours.
So it lasts about an hour?
It lasts about an hour.
Is there a cost?
No, it's completely free. We just ask that they register so that we can make sure we have room.
Have a seat for them?
Because some of the venues are smaller than others, and that we make sure we have enough materials to pass out.
Now, if somebody has a private group they want to maybe have you come out and talk to, that you can do that real quick?
Yeah, just reach out to our team and we will coordinate. It's about my calendar and their calendar, and how do we make sure that we can get there, and what do they want me to come talk to them about? So it could be something just powers of attorney, or no, we need a full presentation, or whatever it is.
Denny Mayhone, thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Mayhone Elder Law, if you want to attend one of these wonderful workshops on behalf of yourself or family, the number's on your screen. Give them a call and set up an appointment.